Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Music Scene Investigation. Glad you're with us this week. We start another month. It is the month of March. I want to take the time to remind everybody that if you're new to Music Scene Investigation, what we do here is we take and review indie artist music that is submitted by you, the indie artist. And we'll take and put that in front of our panel of industry experts and get their take on it after one listen only. They won't have any idea who they're listening to or the name of the song, the genre, anything like that until after they've heard it and provided their reviews, as a matter of fact. It's free to participate in, so if you're an indie artist, there is no excuse why you haven't sent your song in yet. Get to it. Well, you go to MusicSceneInvestigation.com. Click on Submit a Song. It's all there in black and white. Now, I want to take the time and introduce our panelist to you. So let's go around the table, meet our in-house panelist first, Mr. Tom Chianti, all the way from New York City. Tom, how are you today, sir? Raining up there in New York?
No, we've had after the snowfall, we've had 2 beautiful days, 50 degrees weather, bright and sunny. The snow's gone. We only got about 4 inches, but it's been a wonderful weekend. Kind of makes me feel like I ought to go out once in a while and leave the studio, sort of.
At least look out the window.
Well, I do. And you know I have windows because, the train comes by and I wave at it.
Well, as long as you're doing something productive, that's what matters.
I'm a producer. So I'm always doing something.
All right. Well, I'll tell you, Tom, next time I'm in New York, have your people call my people, and we'll ignore each other and just let them talk.
I didn't hear you, but good.
All right. Well, we'll make that happen then. All right. Let's go over across the pond, as they say, to meet our other in-house panelist, Mr. Ian Husbands. Ian, how are you, sir?
Oh, I'm good. Thank you, Rich. How are you?
Doing all right. A little soggy, though.
Little soggy. I don't think I want to ask why.
Yeah, rain.
Oh, okay. Fair enough.
It happens. What can I say?
Yeah, well, we're slipping back into winter here. Spring has sprung and then sprung off, and it seems to come back to winter. So it's cold. We've got a bit of snow trying to come down, and more forecast on the way. Fantastic.
Well, I'll tell you what. We'll send some spring weather your way here in a couple of days after it crosses the ocean.
If you could, I've had a busy week with gigs this week. And obviously with the smoking laws, the way they are here in the UK, we have to smoke outside. So it's been rather horrible being at your gigs and then having to go outside in the freezing cold for a fag.
Yeah, that would be kind of bad, especially when the cold weather hits.
Yep, it's not good. So we need it sorted. Send spring, please.
All right. Well, I'll tell you what, before we go on, I want to get some statistics from you. Every week you prod me, waving your hands in the air, trying to get my attention. So let me do that to you this week and get some statistics from last week's broadcast where we had Above the Flood, Abstract, and Xerox on the broadcast.
We did with Mr. Tony Palmer, and we went for Xerox, track number 3, I think it was. And our audience agreed across the board again. So we're starting to get it right, Tom.
That's an amazing thing, isn't it, Tom?
Oh, I think it's wonderful that we've finally hypnotized masses of people to agree with us.
Well, I guess
the subliminals took a long time to get into the video, but they're there and they're working.
As long as we can keep the subliminal commercial police off our back while doing it, we're happy.
All right. Oh, I'm surprised you could even say subliminal. Yeah, what you said.
No, I really can't. It was recorded.
Well, that's why you the announcer.
Yeah, I suppose so. I have no idea where this is going, but I'm going to stop it before it gets there, and let's talk to our guest panelist. Guest panelist of the year, 2 years running, 2011 and 2012, Mr. Paul Miro. Paul, hey, welcome back to the show.
Hey, how you doing, Rich? How are you guys?
Hello.
Doing great on this end, and we had you on the broadcast back in January. Yep. And, for the award show. So now that it's had some time to sink in, how surprised were you that 2 years running You are the most beloved guest panelist on MSI.
Beloved. Wow. Sounds a bit like
Love you,
bailiff.
Paul.
I was obviously immensely pleased, surprised. Yeah, because I mean, time blurs from one day into the next, and I don't feel that I'm on here anywhere near as often as I should be. But to warrant that kind of support is fantastic. It makes me feel perhaps that what I've got to say isn't complete bullshit, So maybe, hopefully, what I'm saying is injected with humor, but also something that makes sense to the acts that we're reviewing.
Now, during the past number of months, in fact, starting last year, you were working on a new album. Sometimes you get got that you were doing some crowdfunding with. That album has since been released. So let me ask you this, two questions. How's the album going? How's everything working out on that? And I want to get your thoughts on crowdsourcing or crowdfunding for that.
Okay, yeah. Well, the album, I mean, number one, to set the target and to have achieved it, and more than achieved it, was overwhelmingly fantastic. To not have to go to banks and borrow money to record, to release, to promote. That was a huge achievement. And obviously, the where we are now is sales are still going pretty steadily. I've been able to promote in a few magazines over here, not as much as I would have liked to. And it's kind of, it's going steadily. I'm really, really, really happy with it. Personally speaking, the next things that I record, I'll certainly contemplate going down a crowdsourcing route. What your other question, how do I feel about it? I presume you're talking about from other artists doing it. Whole thing is, I think there is a danger of it getting saturated. I think if we aren't careful, there's the potential for this to do a bit MySpace, where everyone suddenly goes, yeah, come and fund my album, and it becomes a bit passé and people stop doing it. I think it's valid if you have already in place sufficient fans to raise the money that you are looking for. I think beyond that, it's just getting a thing of asking people for money that's slightly unrealistic and might get people tired of hearing it. And it might just eventually start being perceived as being a begging exercise, if you like. I think right now, at this point in time, there are a lot of artists with very kind of minuscule fan bases who I know I see it a lot when I'm going and doing shows, and it's kind of, yeah, we're thinking of doing that with our band. And my first question is, well, okay, simple things. How many people you got on Facebook? How many people do you pull to your shows? How many of your last CD do you sell? How are you getting radio? Well, do you have an agent? Do you have this? Blah, blah, blah. And if it's just a situation that they're playing small venues to 20 or 30 mates and aren't really getting traveling around or anything, I don't think for that kind of band, crowdsourcing is a wise venture. Again, it's just realism. You've got to understand your target audience. If you think that you've got enough people out there who know who you are and would be willing to pay for a CD that you're going to record before you record it, then obviously it's a worthwhile venture. And there are so many facets to it. I mean, we were chatting before we went on air about people funding tours as
Right.
crowds. And I think the example you gave was about a European guy or band who were looking to fund a US tour from donations from their European fan base. Personally, I think that's pretty risky. If you've not got a fan base in the States, to use money from a fan base that already exists to take your act to a new arena where people don't know who you are, I think that's just going to lose you the money that the fans give you. And also, it's not returning anything to those fans. I don't think that fan sourcing is something that you should be using to attempt to take fans' money without giving it back to those fans. That's my personal idea. I don't think it's something where, yeah, sure, we all want to expand our fan base and we all want to put whatever money we do raise into raising our profiles. Absolutely. But if you are in a position where you've asked people directly to contribute to your project so that they can have that project or be involved in it, then I don't think it's kind of a principled approach to go, yeah, well, thanks for the money. I'm taking this to another country and seeing if they like it.
Right. No, I get that, and that's an interesting take on it. Now, the idea of crowdsourcing album, is it something that you'd consider doing again?
Yeah, definitely. It goes without saying after the success of the last one and the amount of supportive email that I'm still getting about, please let me know when you're doing this again, or people who didn't know about the last thing who are now buying the CD, who are saying, oh, look, I'd love to contribute to this. I think it just made the whole process so much more, so much less painful. And I don't feel that I've used one penny of the money for anything other than to give stuff back to fans, which has been fantastic to be able to get an album out that's slick, well recorded, well produced, with a great packaging out to people without too long a wait. The main thing from my point of view was I set deadlines from day one, from the how long the pledge would last so much, but on release dates. And that was the main panic of, am I going to get this money in time to get this thing out on the scheduled dates? Because that would have been devastating if not. As it turned out, everything was on schedule. And I think next time I'll set similar targets and hopefully achieve them again.
Right now, the album, I guess, is still available. So if anybody wants to pick it up, they can get the album. Sometimes you get got at paulmiro.com still. Is that correct?
Absolutely, yes. It's up there on every page on the site, and there's a link to the shop. You can listen to previews to every track, and you can download it or order it on CD. And if you want it signed, just put a note when you make your order, and I'll sign it for you.
Very cool, and I certainly hope our audience takes you up on that, because Paul Miro has got such a unique signature. I'm working on it, Paul. I will finally, I think, within 6 months, be able to reproduce your signature. So I'm hoping that you don't mind too much.
Well, it just depends what it is. I mean, that make no difference. I got no money of my own, so yeah.
Well, I've got a spiky hair wig that I've got on layaway right now, and I'm thinking that I can go out and do autograph sessions and stuff like that for you, so you don't have to expend the money, time, and effort to come over here to do it. I'll just sit in for you.
Well, yeah, if you want me to send over some backing tracks as well, so you can lip sync and you can do some gigs and
perfect.
Maybe earn yourself a few bucks.
No, I would have to send it to you. I mean that just to be fair.
Oh, okay, yeah.
You might have to dye your hair red, Rich.
Dye my hair?
Yeah.
What?
Or paint your head.
Paint my we'll figure it out as we go along. I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm just trying to get that zippered look right, and I still haven't done that. But
I think you've got the Picard look down.
The evil Picard with the beard. So, Paul, with regards to crowdsourcing or crowdfunding a track, we talked about crowdfunding a tour and things along those lines. The idea of doing that, something you said you'd consider again, but do you think that people are better off using stuff like Kickstarter, Indiegogo, one of those services, or are they better off doing it yourself? How did you fare, and how was your experiencing, in doing it yourself compared to what you had seen and read? And I'm sure you did research before deciding to do it yourself.
Yeah, lots of research, lots of sit-down meetings with my web designer and with friends who'd gone through the crowdsourcing route with things like Kickstart. I elected to do it through my own website, so everything was hands-on. It was probably more high maintenance because of that. Personally, the reasons that that decision was made was, number one, the crowdsourcing sites take 15% of all donations. Number two, they usually take another 10%. So you're only getting, 3/4 of what's raised. Now, okay, it's all for a good cause, and you're paying for those to have nice flash websites and to promote your stuff. So that's all fine. But to me, having been signed to labels so many times and been involved with them, to me, it seemed a little bit contradictory to be trying to raise money from fans and give away a quarter of the fans' money to an anonymous third party, albeit in a way of facilitating you eventually getting your product out. I thought it was achievable without having to give away a commission, if that makes any sense.
Right. Now, that makes perfect sense. Now, one thing I do want to talk about, we talked a bit about this before the show, was tools that indie artists can use or unsigned artists can use to get exposure for their music, hopefully make a little extra cash and things like that. We talked briefly about services like Spotify, Pandora, and things along those lines. With regards to your music, the new album, how have you leveraged those items, and how do those things work for an indie artist from your experience?
I don't support Spotify as an independent artist whatsoever. There's a misconception that you've got to be on Spotify and that it's going to, and again, enhance your profile and more people are going to get to hear your stuff and they'll tell everyone, and then suddenly we're going to be rock stars and all of that. The reality is Spotify, it does not pay any streaming revenue to independent artists. Spotify make this kind of grandiloquent statement that they pay labels, and that the reason that artists don't get paid is because labels take so long to pay their percentage. It's minute at best, even on a label, but if you are an established act who is selling probably, I don't know, say 50,000 units or more, then Spotify is a good way of continuing that presence. It's not massively enhancing it, but it facilitates people hearing it without having to pay for it via their phones, via their computers, via whatever medium tablet they're using. And from that angle, I use Spotify for that. When as a composer of so many different styles of music at short deadlines, I couldn't possibly afford to purchase the catalog that I'd require for reference purposes. So I often log into Spotify and listen to stuff. Totally different idea, because most of those are established acts, blah, blah, blah. You look at it from an indie point of view, people thinking they're helping me have put stuff on Spotify and internet radio and all that kind of thing. And I've had over 50,000 plays of the new album. Doesn't raise a penny for me, and that's 50,000 people who can listen to the album completely free, who aren't going to buy a CD, who are, probably really into what I do. As an independent artist, yeah, fantastic. That means you really like what I do. And the amount of mail I get of, when are you going to put your band on tour? There's this kind of supposition now that music's a free commodity, and people quite brazenly come up to you at gigs and like, oh yeah, man, I've got all your stuff. I downloaded a torrent of all your stuff. They don't think it's theft. And I'm not going to fall out with them and insult them or anything, but there just seems to be this understanding that you don't have to pay for music. And that lack of understanding is what independent artists have got by thinking they need to be on Spotify. I think they're part of the problem, not part of the cure. Saying that they're supporting indie music, saying that they're making this brash thing of doing something different. Personally, I think it's just one step closer to theft. And if people are wanting to do that, they might as well just download a torrent and nick it anyway.
Right.
That's my feeling. I just think they'd just be upfront and take it, like, hey, I'm not going to buy that album anyway, but I want to listen to it, and so what, I'm going to download it. If that's the attitude, fine. On the other hand, I wish people were more aware of the implications of not paying for music. Personally, obviously, as an independent artist, every penny counts. Mm-hmm. Obviously, I'm always pleased when someone says, I love your new album. And I always have a wry smile inside when they openly admit that they've got my new album without paying for it. It's like, well, okay, yeah. But it saddens me that they are expecting you to be able to go out and put on shows in venues with a band, and they can't put the A to the B of the I haven't paid for this, why can't you put on a show? It's like, well, yeah, that needs to kind of be addressed. The fundamental understanding of to put shows on costs money.
Right.
You know?
Right. Well, I'll tell you, let's book a date the next time you come on. We'll talk about possible solutions for stuff like this, how to get, fans back in that mindset of supporting that artist they love. So that being said, I think that what we need to do here today is get down to the business at hand, which is listening to some new indie artists and hopefully finding them some new fans and getting some reviews for them on the music they submitted to MSI. So if you guys are ready, I know I am. Let's go ahead and take a listen to today's first song on Music Scene Investigation.
Of the ocean, without a hint of any solar emotion. You can run, but you never can hide. She'll hunt you down and she'll eat you alive, yeah. Get out the water before it's too late. You can't escape. Sea devil, sea devil, she's out of control. Sea devil, you can't escape until she's taken your soul. I never dreamed of such an evil creation. I'll hunt you down from the deep, feel the cold devastation. Get out the water before it's too late. You can't escape. Sea devil, sea devil, she's out of control. Sea devil, you can't escape until she's taken your soul.
Born of Neptune, she has many times risen from the ocean. Grey was her colour, yet black was her soul. Many men have tried to tame the beast, but none have lived to tell the tale. From a dark place, more evil than hell itself, I give you the sea devil.
Get out the water before it's too late. You can't escape. You can't escape the sea devil. You fight to live and she eats you for lunch. You hear your bones crunch. Sea devil, sea devil, she's out of control. Sea devil, your soul, you're such a sea devil. Sea devil, out of control. Sea devil. You're just a, you're such a sea devil.
There's song number 1 on today's music scene investigation. Let's go over to Mr. Ian Husbands, find out what he thought about it. Ian, your take on track number 1 today?
Rock! Yeah. It does. It rocks out. I mean, yeah, there's a good song here. I mean, it's classic rock and roll at its best. There's a bit of Alice Cooper in there. There's a bit of Kid Rock in there, stuff like Rock and Roll Jesus that he's done, which was very much more the sort of classic rock side of stuff. But the way he brings in the female vocals, I liked that. The guitar riff was strong. The guitar sounded big and solid. I mean, mix-wise, there wasn't a lot wrong with this. I did find it was a bit toppy and scratchy in places, especially on the lead guitar solo. But across the board, I thought the performances were great. As I said, great guitar riffs, good solo work. I even loved the Devil's voice. But the one thing that let this down for me was the lead vocalist. He had moments of goodness, and then other moments where I just wasn't convinced he was singing this song. You know, there's a lot of energy here. There's a lot of power here. And he just wasn't convincing for me. There's a good hook there. If you take it for an 80s rock track, it's a good song, but that vocalist really, really, really was unconvincing for me in places.
All right, Ian, I appreciate that. Thank you. And let's go to Tom. Mr. Chianti, your thoughts on track number 1?
Well, it reminds me of all the reasons why I forgot the 80s. Matter of fact, it was such a flashback. I was looking at my console to see if I had any white powder floating around. But
you need some talcum powder out?
Yeah, you know, because I just took a shower. It is very, very 80s rock, and it as that it doesn't add anything to it. It's a nice photograph, a still in time of what 80s was. It doesn't evolve the genre. It doesn't, it's well recorded, arranged well. It sounds too clean. I was never really a fan of 80s glam rock, and that's what this reminds me of. They said in the chat, like Kiss and Ian had mentioned some others. I just think that they could have been a little bit more expressive, creative in portraying what was the 80s instead of just staying in the 80s. I think they ought to move out of mom's basement, get a job, and get a life.
Wow. All right, Tom. Well, I appreciate that, and we'll find out what Mr. Paul Miro thinks. Paul, your take on track number 3?
Made me smile a lot. I couldn't make up my mind whether they were being serious and a Judas Priest kind of way, or whether it was like Steel Panther, somewhere in between the two. I agree. On the downside, I do agree with Ian. It's not so much about vocalists not being convincing, but just not being consistent. There's elements of James Hetfield in there, definitely Alice Cooper, and then drifts off into a kind of little bit less passionate area. Needs to just work on being more passionate throughout, I'd reckon. Maybe do some of those lines from the 80s that Tommy referred to, shower, and getting himself a bit more messed up. But no, in all seriousness, I thought it was, I couldn't stop smiling, and it was, to me, like, it's a good, fun album track. It kept making me think of Cold Ethel from the Welcome to My Nightmare album, Alice Cooper. I think they've listened to a lot of Cooper, which, I mean, I grew up when I was a kid. Alice Cooper was just like phenomenal. And that's one of my favorite albums as a kid. And sorry, Tommy, but yeah, I do like my 80s and rock. And to me, that was part of a rock opera. That was an album track. You can't listen to on its own. I want to hear like when the she devil is incarcerated in some kind of horrific hell where the voice is weak, and then suddenly it comes back from all this horror story and comes back in triumph and turns out to be a beautiful angel and blah blah blah. I want a story. I want that whole thing, because as a track, it's right. Yeah, it's okay. Great Brian Robertson, Thin Lizzy style solo in there, and wonderful over the top drums. And yeah, it's not a great mix, but that kind of thing as one track, it's never going to do anything on a low budget. It sounds pompous, it sounds pretentious, and therefore it needs a shit ton of cash thrown behind it from a major label and doing a rock opera with it. Rock opera type album, like Steel Panther with a story, if you like, with some money behind it. I think that could be really fun and produced to a point where vocalists on top form and everything's kind of more controlled. Like Ian said about the middle eight, the horror voice in the minute, again to me it was Alice Cooper. That was like the bit where I can't remember what the guy's name was, the old horror actor who they got in on.
Vincent Price.
Price, yeah. Living Leather Doctor, please don't display, little boy. Those horror voices are great, and that B-movie kind of way. Again, though, you can't just have it on one track. It's got to be part of telling the whole story. And to me, I just wanted to hear the whole album and see the videos and have a massive smile on my face and do some of Tom's cocaine.
All right.
Needs more spandex as well.
There you go, spandex round. All right, well, I appreciate that, gentlemen. The name of that track is I'm paraphrasing Carol here. Carol out in the chat room thought it was She Devil, but it is Sea Devil. And the group is named White Pigeon. White Pigeon with Sea Devil. We appreciate their sending that track into Music Scene Investigation. You know, here in about a month or so, coming off hiatus, will be Twitter Tuesday Live once again, where you can get all the details on your favorite indie artist over at butterfliesradio.com. You can also hear it here on MSI, at MSI Radio, that is. Just go to musicsceneinvestigation.com/radio. Tune in Tuesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern time for that. Again, that's coming off hiatus in about a month. So you want to make sure that you get in there, get there early to get a good chair, you know, because Mark and Carol, you know, reserve seats for all their friends, and we have to fight over it. It's a mess, but it's a lot of fun, and you can get a shout out on the air if you shout out to them at All Indie on Twitter. So it's a pretty cool thing. All right, gentlemen, we have two more tracks to listen to. I've got the second one queued up, and I'm ready to go. So if you're ready, let's hit it and get it done. Here it is, track number 2 on today's Music Scene Investigation.
all your fault. There's so much work to be done. It's all your fault. You're wasting my life. You're wasting your life. Why must you wake me today? Why must you wake me today, son? I'm fading, I'm fading. I'm holding on to the bedpost. They're wading through faces. We're dancing on our toes with our eyes
Track number 2 on today's Music Scene Investigation. Let's go over to Mr. Tom Chianti, find out what he thought on track number 2. Tom?
I like this. It's got a lot of potential. I would have liked to hear like an accordion along with the violin. It's a nice selection of instruments there. The mix is very distracting. It's very unbalanced. There was the one, I think, female vocal on the right-hand side that instead of adding, it was very distracting from the main vocal. I think they should have layered these bebops, and made it a little thicker. Yeah, the main problem with this is it's a good song. It's a great idea, and there's a lot of potential, but it didn't come across in the mix. And I would love for them to go back in the studio and really rethink and maybe, recut and add more background vocals. Like I said, maybe add an accordion if they can find an accordion player. Its structure was good. I would have used, like, in the intro and then after the chorus and it broke down into another verse, I would have used a different type of kick sound to differentiate the parts. They had that nice kick that you feel more than you hear, or some people call the kick the foot. I think if they had used, like, a very roomy ambient kick in the beginning, and then switch to the kit itself and on and off, it would have added a little bit more variety. I liked it though. It has a lot of potential, and I think these guys really need to rethink and solidify their mixes and their direction, and it'll be much better for it.
All right. Well, I appreciate that, Tom. Thank you very much. Mr. Paul Miro, your take on track 2?
Didn't like it.
Uh-oh.
Didn't like it at all. One thing that really sends me is out-of-tune vocals, and I don't mean by not using auto-tune, because I also loathe that. But the vocals, mix was dreadful. Musicianship was dreadful. I was so distracted by the lame playing. Now, I'm wishing to cause no offense to any of the individuals involved, but it just sounds like unrehearsed. It sounded, they've obviously spent time writing a good song, and that is, I totally agree with Tommy that there's a great song there, but it didn't deliver. It just meandered to me. The drums were very sloppy. And I understand there's this fine thing between, this sort of new folk Americana kind of sound that's going on, where things are a little bit lo-fi and a little bit saggy. That didn't sound like what they were trying to achieve. It was like they were trying to be a tight band, but not achieving it. for me, they need to decide which angle they're going to pursue. And like Tommy's saying, things about the kit sounds, that was just a sort of muted kit in a room sound that lent towards, if that's the choice of sound, then they need to be a lot tighter. If they're going to have vocals, then make sure that they keep their passion within it, that they're obviously delivering with, but make sure that they're more in tune. And again, like Tommy says, the female vocal was way loud and with that hard panning, very distracting. I just thought that the performances and the playing, I think there were some great ideas in there. I just think they need to sit and rehearse a lot more. And maybe if they're not aware of it themselves, run it by some more objective ears and go, well, you know, there's something here, but work on this, work on that, before they go and record and mix it. I just think the musicianship and the out of tuneness, instruments were out of tune, not just vocals on that. I just think that's a little bit of a mistake if you're presenting it as a finished product.
All right. Well, I appreciate your thoughts there, Paul. Let's go to Ian, find out what he thought. Ian, your take on track number 2.
Well, I kind of sit somewhere firmly between both Paul and Tom. You know, there is the start of something good here. There is the start of a good song. You know, I thought the acoustic tone was quite nice, which we don't seem to get a lot of nice acoustic sounds on MSI, and that worked for me. I found the vocals were very up front, and they weren't sitting right with the rest of the mix. The violin, nice touch. Couldn't hear much of it, and it was just stuck to one side and wasn't really a part of the song. It was just sort of playing along in the background. There was no layering on the vocals, and the vocals weren't tight together. You know, if you're layering vocals, if you're doubling up vocals or putting harmonies down, they need to work with the lead vocal and drop on beat for beat, word for word. And they weren't doing that. You know, it had a sort of bare naked ladies, crash test dummies kind of feel to it, which is cool. But again, as Paul said, it kind of just meandered on. And there was no real climax in the song. It didn't really sort of take you anywhere and leave you thinking, yeah, that was a great listen. It sort of just finished and you're like, oh yeah, it was nice. And I think nice is the operative word. There is something nice here at the moment. It's not something necessarily that's good or great. And it does need a lot of work. You know, the little bits of arrangement where it's just dropping out to vocal and guitar and the kick. It was just unwarranted the first time it happened. It sort of took me back and I was like, that doesn't need to be there. That just sounds like they were lost for something else to play underneath that section for a minute. Oh, let's just put that down and carry on. It needs some work. There is a good idea here. I think there are some good performers here, but at the moment it's just not gelling and coming together as well as it should.
All right. Well, I appreciate it, Ian. Thank you very much. The name of that track is With Our Eyes Closed. The group's name is Wells Next the Sea. Wells Next the Sea, With Our Eyes Closed. We appreciate your sending that track in to Music Scene Investigation. Gentlemen, we have one more track to go over today. I know you're ready. Question is, am I? And I think I am. So let's go ahead and take a listen to track number 3 on today's Music Scene Investigation.
What it do, world? This your boy 5 Bikes. Mr. Ride with me dog himself. Right now, I'd like to take a minute and talk to all my sexy ladies out there. BBWs, you need love too. I just want y'all to know I appreciate everything you do. I'm loving those attributes. I've been foaming for shorty for about an hour now. I can tell it's been that long just looking at her body. Cause her body shaped just like an hourglass. I bet she book smart, with a lot of class. The independent type, just what it like. Look around, I'ma have shorty and my wife. Ain't the saying it cause I've been on the red stripe. I'm simply saying I can picture me with her for life. She the type of chick even my mama like. We go out to eat, she say order what you like. Everything on me, baby, a straight go get a bank account 6 figures. She don't plow for nothing. see them rocks over there? Well, get the kicking. Why you worried anyway? You need to mind your business. I guess you're mad cause you see how neck glisten. I know you meant me, but you really need to lose my digits. I'm like T.I., it's too late to apologize. So go wipe the crocodile tears out your eyes. I don't understand what you ain't getting, girl. Before the last time, I'm saying goodbye. She's a head turner. She's a head turner. She's a head
Looking at my shot, and she's so beautiful. I'm like, looking at my shot, man, she's so beautiful. I'm like, oh, she could pull up on any scene. Guarantee she the baddest thing. Look in her eyes, you'll see green, like a bag full of money.
Let's go.
Long hair down to her back. With all that baggage, she must shop a cat.
It's all
Picture
her.
perfect smile for her.
Let's go.
In case I grab my camera so I can snap. She's a head turner.
She's a head turner. She's a head turner. She's a head turner. Ride with me, dog. Polk County, Black Cat. I ain't forget about you, OG. Don Jr., what to do? Hold up. Bon Julio, I need a song from you, dog. Man, I'm a G-Shaw, what up? Big bro, Big Joe. Five boys.
And that's song number 3 on today's Music Scene Investigation. We're going to head over to Mr. Paul Miro, find out his thoughts. Paul, track number 3 to you.
Okay, this is a difficult one. I thought it was great. I really think whoever the guy is who's put that together really knows his sound sourcing for the kind of material that he's putting out. I really like his vocal delivery. I think he's got a great character to his voice. A lot of energy in it. I like his delivery and the way that he's used the right sort of punctuation with stereo stacks and the nice weaving female voice going through the real lo-fi nasty hip-hop sound banks, MIDI sound banks coming in. I thought it was great. My only reservation is I don't know what's left in the market for it, because it goes to T-Pain in areas. I mean, T-Pain is T-Pain, and he has, I know there's now a T-Pain plugin to make you sound like T-Pain, which is something that's purely for your own personal use rather than tribute to T-Pain. That would be my reservation. I don't know. I don't know what majors do. Again, it's not going to be something that does anything other than on a major with big videos with hoes and bitches in it. It's got to be one of those. That aside, if he concentrated more on moving away from the T-Pain bit, maybe less of the radical auto-tune, I think he could go shopping with that, personally.
All right, Paul. Well, I appreciate your thoughts. And over to Mr. Ian Husbands. Ian, track number 3 to you.
Now, I've got a little bit of an issue with this track.
Oh.
And I'm going to ask Mr. Paul Miro to do me a favour and go and verify this for me, because he's obviously heard the track and done his little speech. Check out Kaylee by Marillion.
All right, okay.
Listen to the guitar riff and then compare it to the harpsichord riff on this track.
Okay.
Because to me, this sounds like that harpsichord part, which I didn't like the sound of either. Is a rip-off of the riff from a Marillion track called Kaylee. I will stand corrected on this. If it isn't spot on, it's very, very close. I mean, as Paul was saying for the rest of it, I mean, too much use of vocoder, and auto-tune. The mix was generally strong, and there's a good track there. I felt his delivery, I couldn't understand him as well as I would have liked to have done, which obviously in this sort of track, I think your pronunciation and delivery from that point of view is very, very important. But yeah, this guy knows what he's doing. There's a strong mix here. There's a strong track here. If that isn't a rip from Kaylee, then I'm happy.
All right. Thank you, Ian. I appreciate it. Let's go to Tom, find out his thoughts. Tom, track 3.
Well, definitely we should look into Ian's concerns. But aside from that, I liked it. It changed. It had a lot of interesting sounds. The most annoying thing besides the T-Pain effect and the vocoder was the fact the kick was not in the center. And I could hear the low frequencies drift off to the left side, and it was maddening. Slap the engineer in the head, check your returns, make sure if you have any effects on your kick that they come back on both channels so you get your kick in the center. I hate a pan kick. That, a pet peeve aside being said, the hook was very intelligible, which is the most important part of the song for me, and I liked it. As to the rapping, yeah, he could use with a little calming down in his pronunciation, but the excitement and performance are there on all the vocals. It's outside of the kick issue. It's a great mix. There's a lot to be said for and against this, but overall, I got a good feeling and I liked it.
All right, Tom, I appreciate that. Thank you very much. The name of that track, as you may have surmised, it's called Head Turner, and it's by 5 Mike Z, 5 MICZ. We appreciate your sending that track into Music Scene Investigation. Before I send it over to the guys and have them pick a song of the week, I want to ask everybody, what do you do for social media? What do you do for social media? You're going to interrupt me when I'm doing this? All right.
Yeah, this is important. I want to ask Paul if he had to listen to Kaylee for me and verify this, what I thought.
It's close. Even if so, I mean, he's not sampled it, so he's not going to get sample clearance. I mean, I never consider that a massive issue. All he'd have to do is get the consent of the publisher, and possibly, if it is decided that it's that similar, there'd just be some kind of publishing split whereby the writers, Mr. Fish or whatever, would get a cut of the publishing.
Just wanted to verify that, though, because obviously that's all I could hear through that song was that riff, and I was like, I know that. And then worked out what it was. Sorry?
It's not the same as.
Very close, though, right?
Yeah, it's closest. Yeah, it's pretty close. But either way, I'd like to say, I mean, like those kind of doffs of the cap, so long as you talk with whichever publishing company owns that original thing, if you've got sufficient interest to get something released, then you'll be able to negotiate some kind of publishing split, should that be decided upon being necessary. Where I'm sure the guy, if he's going to have a hit record, he's going to be more than happy to be giving a percentage away to someone else than not have the hit record,
Fair comment. And if it isn't sampled, maybe you should sample it and it'll work.
If it's in a different world altogether, then you're in trouble. But never use samples. And there's all people out there who replay samples for you now anyway for money. And I mean, again, with Tommy's thing I was saying about the mix, I agree. The kick was annoying and everything. I think I've said this before on the show, I never see anything as a finished mix that's on here anyway. So whatever I say as being enthused about, I always envisage it being taken away and re-recorded, either totally or completely remixed and things to become a final product. These are things to generate interest to get it recorded properly. That's the way I look at it.
All right, so it may be a sample, it may not be a sample. Damned if you do, damned if you don't. If it wasn't a sample, you should have sampled it. That's all I've got out of this, so I don't know. All right, gentlemen, I'm going to throw it over to you, let you argue it out and make a decision on your selection of Song of the Week. Please do.
Rich, what were you going to talk about before Ian interrupted?
That's all right, it's already gone by.
Oh, history is such a terrible thing.
Go ahead. Let me hear what your selection is. Your thoughts are on the Song of the Week selection, gentlemen.
Well, aside from the fact that if you ever put us up on screen while we're listening again, I will personally drive down there and slap you.
We used to do that all the time, Tom.
I know,
like
but
it. I like.
I don't want people to see what I do when I'm listening. It's a trade secret.
All right, your thoughts on Song of the Week then?
I would go with number 3, despite Ian's controversy. It's the best showing, presentation, most interesting, and with all its faults, I mean, it's tough. I really like number 2, but number 2 really needs a lot of work, and number 1 is just not my cup of tea. You know, so as far as good to go, and with the least amount of overdubbing and remixing, I would have to say number 3.
All right, Ian and Paul?
Ian,
Miro?
3. Definitely 3. It's the one that I think is the most immediately marketable, that needed the least work and the least money behind it to make something financially viable out of it. Number 1, I really loved it for all its energy and enthusiasm, and brought back an area of my childhood that is very pleasant. But it would need a load of money, and it'd need to be an entire rock opera, otherwise it ain't gonna work. And number 2 was not my thing at all.
No, if I'm going to walk away from a track tonight with a smile on my face, it is number 1. But the boys are right from the point of view of commerciality. It's got to be number 3. So who am I to rock the boat? Even if it is a sample of Marillion's Kaylee, we'll go with number 3.
I got a real thing with that. Never say the word sample, because if it's someone playing a part that is from another track, that's easily rectifiable and easily discussable. Samples, no, that's a different thing. That's actually lifting someone else's mechanicals. That's a different area altogether. And you've got to be careful with that language. The next thing you'll be telling people Spotify is a good thing.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah, that and iTunes.
All right, so number 3 it is. 5 Mike Z with his track Head Turner is our Song of the Week. Gentlemen, thank you for your service as always. Paul, always a pleasure to have you on with us. It's great to have you back, man.
Yay,
pleasure.
Paul.
Yeah, pleasure to be back on with all of you guys and all you people listening out there. It has been a fantastic time, and thank you, guys.
So what do you got coming up in the future that you want to hit us with so we can get the crowd all frenzied?
Well, I'm kind of immersed in things that aren't that exciting to any crowd at the minute. I've got so much commissioned library stuff to get out of the way very quickly. I have got a new duo that's about to take to the stage, playing my band's material, which I'm really excited about. Acoustic versions of my band Apes, Pigs and Spacemen. Got quite a few shows, about 20 of those coming up in April, and we start doing a couple of shows next week. And then I'm hoping over the next couple of months to get started on recording the first parts of my band's new album, which has been long awaited. But we'll have to wait and see what other curveballs life throws at me.
Awesome. Everybody can find out more about all that and everything else at paulmiro.com. Gentlemen, thanks once again for everything. Thanks to everyone out in the crowd. Hope you tune in with us next week as we bring Music Scene Investigation to you once again. Of course, this Wednesday, Hit List, MSI Radio. Go to musicsceneinvestigation.com/radio. Find out who's going to be this month's Hit List winner. We're going to play out with Head Turner by 5 Mike Z right now on Music Scene Investigation. Thanks, everyone. Have a great time and a great week.
Bye.
What it do, world? This your boy 5 Bikes. Mr. Ride with me dog himself. Right now, I'd like to take a minute and talk to all my sexy ladies out there. BBWs, you need love too. I just want y'all to know I appreciate everything you do. I'm loving those attributes. I've been foaming for shorty for about an hour now. I can tell it's been that long just looking at her body. Cause her body shaped just like an hourglass. I bet she book smart with a lot of class. The independent type, just what it like. Look around, I'ma have shorty and my wife. Ain't to saying it cause I've been
a pack. With all that baggage, she must shop again. Get your perfect smile for her up. Let's go. In case I grab my camera so I can snap. She's a head turner.
She's a head turner. She's a head turner. She's a head turner. Ride with me, dog. Polk County, Black Ant. I ain't forget about you, OG. Don Jr., what to do? Hold up. Oh, Julio, I need a song from you, dog. Man, I'm a B-Sharp, what up?